Don't understand why you're 40 years old and playing this game still. So.
Well, I mean, what game do you think you're going to be playing when you're 40? When do you think you're going to stop playing games? What's the age? What's the cutoff age?
When you're out of high school and college.
You're a high school kid?
Yeah, I'm out of high school. Yeah.
How old are you?
Why does it matter?
Well, I mean, you foresee yourself in the future quitting something you love, like video games? Do you not love video games? You just cruise through it.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of a waste of time when you're that old. But.
Well, how do you know? You're not old yet. I mean, I can think of probably reasons that video games would be a waste of time for a high school kid, too. Do you have a 4.0? Are you in honor classes to get more than a 4.0?
No, but...
You know what I'm saying? There's more things you could be doing to improve your life than playing video games, too, right?
Yeah, you study and not play games.
Hey, just recreation, man. Having fun. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
All
right.
Yeah, well, there's been some updates to OBS, and when I updated it, some of my plugins, and I used some plugins, gave me a lot of trouble. Basically, I was spending all morning trying to get everything fixed before the show, but it looks like something is still demanding a lot out of my OBS system. So hopefully we can proceed amicably and cut down on the resource usage of my machine, which is a 5-year-old machine. So I've had it for a while, but I'm not quite on the cutting edge here. So
yeah, I only do tech updates on Monday now because of that's being my one kind of primary off day. Although I think I might have something coming up on one of these Mondays. Actually, this Monday we're getting fiber optic internet, so that'll be nice.
Wow, dude, super exciting. I used to have fiber optic internet in Chicago, but and I miss that. That's one thing I miss about Chi-Town. So yeah, speaking of technical problems, I wasn't the only one having issues. So I am not streaming to Rumble today because Rumble's been down all morning for me, and I was trying to do a stream through Rumble's a streaming app because they will, handle the hosting, but Rumble itself was down, so I couldn't use it. Also, X was down, Twitter, which is a shame because I wanted to use X resources to do some reporting. So I guess I'm going to have to use my phone to talk about anything going on with X, if there is anything, because I did have a couple of X, say links or sources. So yeah, so X is having problems, Rumble's having problems, and I'm having problems. Coincidence? I think not. I
on the other hand, I'm awesome today. I'm ahead of schedule. Yeah, I got stuff going on this afternoon, starting a new creator on their YouTube creator journey, and gonna be doing back-end production for Scooby Pup. So she's gonna cease to be just merely a mod and actually kind of do her thing. And I became a fairly handy StreamYard producer in a little under a week's time. For a guy who has only done guest panel positions on StreamYard before, never actually get into the ins and outs of it. I figured my way around pretty damn good this week, I think. I hope everybody, is looking forward to what's going to be going on later on today on that channel, because they might be, happily surprised by the capabilities of this problematic white guy. Yeah, there was a note that a little bit. Is my audio still coming through echoey?
I mean, it sounds fine for me. I don't know if it sounds.
I was asking chat.
I'm looking at the audio that's going out on my OBS, and it only shows one source for you, so there shouldn't be an echo. OBS, but let me know if you guys hear anything weird. But anyway, I just wanted to let you all know. Yeah, lots of stuff going on. I was trying to stream through Rumble Studio. Hopefully, I can do it next time. Because I did do Rumble Studio streams before and it worked pretty well, and it might be the way to go going forward. One of the issues I had with Rumble Studio before was when you set up a scheduled stream, it only announces the stream on somebody's saying echoes. Let me try listening to you, John. I want to see how it sounds. Maybe we can maybe it's something I can do something about. So go ahead and say a few things.
Yeah. So like I said, I've just been doing production work all week long and watching Godzilla movies. I'm gonna do a few more of those after I get done with this, and maybe order some lunch and like just kind of
All
take
right,
it
all
easy
right.
until I got my next stream. So
All right, let's see. Is that better, guys, or worse? Let me see. It says like you're speaking during live aid.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see let me try doing this. Okay, go ahead now.
Test. Monkeypox and all that jazz. I don't know. Woo!
Oh, I see. Okay. So what I got to do is this, I think. All right.
All right.
Sorry about all that, guys.
Yeah, it's better to take care of it before we get into the discussion than it is, and we're still we're still in the Halo. It's not even 10 minutes in yet, so I normally drag things down for around this amount of time either way, so it'll work.
All right,
It'll work.
We're just gonna do what we can and jump into the stories. So because the faster I get through them, the less stress it puts on my machine. All right, so first things first, I wanted to tell you guys an announcement. Well, it's sort of an announcement. So I sort of helped out, and John and I both, we helped out this these guys that run a game jam called the It's Based Jam. And they have announced that they're going to be doing their winter game jam. So last time they did it, I played through some of the games. These guys are very hungry, very big on trying to help out indie developers or people looking to break in to the industry. And I played many of the games. You can find them on my channel here, Honey Badger Arcade. I played through. They were all Rome themed and they were varying levels of quality, but this is a game jam. It's sort of like, people get to experiment and compete and learn and network with other developers and whatnot. And so there's just nothing but opportunities at the last game jam, which was their Rome themed jam. I think it was a fall jam.
Yeah, they do them every season, I believe.
Every season, yeah. So the fall jam was Rome themed, and I played a bunch of these Rome themed games, and I'm actually going to go through a couple more. One of them looks kind of like a Resident Evil, old school Resident Evil game. I'm kind of looking forward to trying that and trying to figure out how it fits in. So they have announced that they're going to be doing a winter jam, and on January 3rd, they're going to be telling the theme. And I think that, whatever you guys want to do to get involved, you should. If you are interested in game development, or you've wanted to try this out, this is a really good opportunity. But maybe you just want to share it around because some of these people are doing really good work. And I think that, it's definitely worth supporting.
I know Ryan Roger Athay, who is in the chat, a very good friend of the show and also just a personal friend of mine now at this point, I would say, is currently working on the guys from the Great Rebellion, CEO of Cult, to try to do a YouTube influencer kind of grassroots form of advertising by reviewing the game and actually just kind of showing it to the masses so it can actually start getting some of the love it really deserves, because that game is quite truly well worth the price of admission. Even if you're paying full price, I got lucky. I only had to pay for the music, but yeah, all about independent game development love here at this at Honey Badger Arcade and the Weekend Culture.
All right.
Yep.
And it should be a good time. Trying to this. All right. And I don't know what their theme is going to be, but I'm going to say this is what I'd like for them to do. I would like for them to do the Crusades as a theme. That could be a lot of fun, and I think that it's sort of underserved, and it's also based. So there's just nothing but good. But I mean, they're gonna pick whatever they're gonna pick. I'm just throwing my hat in the ring, and I'm just like, hi, how about this for a theme? And you could make it supernatural, magical, science fiction, whatever. King Arthur in space, yes, please, right? So anyway, the first thing I wanted to tell you all is about that. I think that the It's Based Game Jam should be supported, and January 3rd is when they're going to announce it. Starts in 27 days, so mark your calendars for that. And I will continue to test their games and have people on. In fact, the last time they did it, they had some pretty like reasonably high profile people doing the judging. Andy Pants Gaming, who has another YouTube channel, as well as why am I forgetting his name? Is it Ian Crossland or something? Or am I getting him mixed up with somebody else?
I can't remember. I remember Andy Pants because someone got in contact with me about about that.
Yeah, he was friends with Tim Pool. He used to be on. He basically like was on his shows and stuff all the time. So there's another one. All right, so that was it for that. Just check out the It's Based Game Jam. Hopefully you guys do. Death of Zionism and Feminism said, Brian, did Hannah contact you about Ryan Dawson? Yeah. No, she hasn't. I don't know why that. I'm sorry, but I don't even know who Ryan Dawson is. I think I could look it up. But no, she is not. So, all right. Anyway, let's get into the next story. This is called the big one, or at least the one that everybody, I mean, it's related to the big one. So this is from Smash JT. And this is part of a larger conversation about what the absolute state of Ubisoft is. So it's called Leaked Ubisoft CEO Memo Exposes X-Defiant as the first domino to fall. Ubisoft, once a giant in the gaming industry, is now teetering on the edge of a full-blown collapse thanks to DEI and ideology-driven insanity. But there's another story too. It looks like Tencent is looking to buy. So, John, did you want to say anything about that? And let me know if you guys can hear him as he's talking.
I read the article that was in Reuters from yesterday, and I believe that I had a little speculative theory going here for the last few months about Ubisoft specifically, and what I read in this article pretty much confirms the stuff that I've been saying, that they were trying to ensure that Tencent's the company that takes the company over, because if there's a hostile takeover and they actually start looking in the books and everything like that, a lot of information is going to come to light that they don't really want to have happen. So this is just kind of like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, and they're doing everything they can to hide the information that would otherwise sink this motherfucker. Which Tencent's got their finger in many pies when it comes to forms of media beyond just gaming, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But this as I was saying the other day when we were on Will of the Fans, you can't spell Guillermo without guile, and that's what this whole system is about, is subterfuge, and just trying to ensure that the ownership structure changes in terms of the bureaucratic kind of oversight. But when you read into the article, they're trying to basically get it set up to where they're just being funded by Tencent as the primary owner now, but they still want to be able to actually have creative controls and all that kind of stuff. So I really think that this is just a way to hide all the WEF connections and all the back channel fuckery that I've mentioned over the course of the last 4 months that we've been doing this show, and even prior on my own YouTube coverage. So we'll see what happens with it, but Tencent hasn't even committed to the purchase yet. Obviously, because there's probably a little bit of concern about, if we buy this, are people actually going to, come back to give this company a chance? Because Ubisoft's name is mud in the game industry at this point in time. They couldn't pay you to buy their games at this point, it seems. They've had 2 direct shutdowns, and another studio is sunsetting. So it's Osaka and San Francisco shut down this week, and the Sydney location is sunsetting, so it will be shut down in no short order as soon as they finish up their current development. Ubisoft is beyond cooked, as the kids say these days. So,
for sure. I mean, like, when it comes to Tencent, the truth of it is that they probably have their hands in almost every pie. So it's almost like nothing we can do about the fact that they have this much reach, except build at home as much as possible, and
sport independent games.
Yeah, and it might even require something that I would normally not advocate, which is for the government to do something. I think that things like tariffs and whatnot could help bring the manufacturing back. But yeah, I mean, like, if you've basically spent your money on anything, there is a high likelihood that you've given money to Tencent. So, I mean, no matter what, if you got a phone, if you downloaded an app, if you put gas in your car or whatever, like you probably gave some money to Tencent, whether you know it or not. And that's, in a way, like the idea of boycotting, it just doesn't make sense. It's kind of like when the Gillette ad dropped and people were like, we're going to boycott Procter and Gamble because they own Gillette. The problem with it is that Procter and Gamble makes so many things that you're basically going to be doing a lot of work just to figure out how you can, like sort of live and avoid buying their products. When a lot of people just boycotted Gillette, it's just like the Bud Light thing. I think Bud Light course corrected because even though Anheuser-Busch owns Bud Light and lots of other brands, the Bud Light brand was the one that was harmed. And so that was the one that they felt they need to respond to. And I think that you might have to look at Tencent the same way, because again, like who has the average customer, the average consumer just going through their day-to-day life can't possibly put in the amount of energy it takes to find out every single brand or company that Tencent is involved in. And the truth is there's probably a lot of American, supposed American companies that Tencent like is involved with, just like trying to avoid BlackRock.
There's a lot of cartel control, I guess would be the best way to call it these days. Like a lot of owners of owners, and you don't know exactly who you're dealing with, which we'll get into later when we get to that Star Wars story coming up. Because when you were talking about, for your example, Anheuser-Busch isn't even Anheuser-Busch. They're owned by InBev, some German company that, so everything is just intellectual property brands more often than not these days, and they just use them because they're familiar and people have nostalgia for them. But we really need to start breaking away from these established kind of IPs and things like that have been fortified over the course of the last 40, 50 plus years, and just start actually just being creative. And we have enough connections between all these various creators that are coming together on the internet, that in the course of the next 5 to 10 years, we completely change the shape of entertainment if we actually start working together and just, stop supporting these piece of shit corporations.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's not even really about. I mean, obviously, entertainment is good, but I'm saying like the deeper thing that's at stake here is the culture itself, like the story we tell to ourselves about ourselves. That's where a healthy culture springs from. So, and it's important to know that, like, what are like the most important and the greatest stories, and how do we turn those into entertainment that's also good for us spiritually, right? So, Beth the Zionism asks, would you have Ryan Dawson on A Bachelor Life? Again, I don't know who that is, so you're gonna have to help me out. But sure, I'll have anybody on my show if it's relevant, and if it's you're talking about over at Honey Badger Radio, that's not up to me. That's up to Allison. So you're gonna have to ask her. She's the boss. But anyway, we're going to move on to the next thing. But I am going to come back to the sort of like the Chinese
involvement.
Let's say, well, the Chinese industry. Like I think that there's a lot there that should be like looked at with a degree of nuance, because but we'll get to it later. Yeah. So all right. So next,
everything's clear cut these days.
No, the thing is that, like, Elon Musk takes Chinese money too, but that doesn't mean that we don't think that what he did with X is good. But it's just sort of like we have to operate in the world as it is, and if the Chinese and the BRICS, let's say, economy, BRICS, if they are like a very powerful, like, say, force that everyone is working with, and we kind of have to, like, operate with that knowledge, right? It's like it's just an unfortunate situation we find ourselves in. But again, I'll come back to that. So let's talk about GTA 6. So if you guys don't know, GTA 6 is cooked. I knew that anyway. I mean, I kind of saw it, honestly. I never played 5, so I'm not going to speak to that. But I did see it in Red Dead Redemption 2. And I was like, okay, there's a trend emerging here. I kind of saw it in GTA 4 a little bit, because GTA 4 was going for a bit more grounded, you know, a little bit less over the top than say like San Andreas or Vice City. And it was my first GTA game, so I don't really have like a standard, but that was what people were telling me. But I enjoyed GTA 4 just all the same. I really liked the first Red Dead Redemption though. But yeah, I saw it a little bit more with the second one. And the fact that we haven't gotten a sequel to Bully is a little bit, you know, also kind of telling you that Rockstar as a let's say the culture of Rockstar is changing or has been for a while. But now we got this. Oh yeah, go ahead, John.
I was going to say the protagonist of Bully, he's clearly a problematic white guy, and we can't have anything, you know, based around that. I mean, that might make you know, people that have, you know, pigment issues, you know, that aren't favorable these days, actually feel as though they're able to be represented. And, yeah, that's not allowed.
No, no, not at all. So, so yeah, but that being said, we have this article from Smash JT, credit to SmashJT.com, and he says, I failed Rockstar's GTA 6 DEI indoctrination course. And I'm just gonna like skim over this a little bit. So Smash JT did a live stream and he went through what he calls an incredibly painful DEI indoctrination course that Rockstar Games has been reportedly subjecting their employees to, specifically a module called Unconscious Bias, designed by Stacey A. Gordon. Now, I think, and I don't want to speak for anyone, but my guess is, and this was the reason why I love to pick these stories out, is because Gamergate 1 in 2014 was full of people who were well-intentioned. Well, no, I mean, before that. They were well-intentioned, they were advocates for gamers, but they weren't really seeing what the problem was. They were looking at it from this very surface level, like, oh, if we just get the money or the payola out of, you know, the journalism, so like the you know, you don't have the Dorito Pope, and he's like basically like, you know, making networking connections between the folks at IGN, Kotaku, Rock Paper Shotgun, whatever, and the game developers of games that are just not very good, so they can get like ad revenue, and they would like cape for them and all this stuff. Essentially, it's about games ethics and games journalism, which was like the tagline of Gamergate 1. And back then, and I know I've said this a lot, but I'm going to keep saying it until people get it. Back then in 2014, I said, this is not the problem. The problem is that this industry, just like all of our cultural industries, are full of commie, gay race, fucking global homo, like ideologues, revolutionaries that want to use this, as they have for as long as there has been art. So this is not a new thing, to essentially like use these as a vehicle for change. And that has never changed. And it's always been there. And this is why you will find people who you think were not PC, like David Jaffe, which we responded to last week, who gave us God of War and Twisted Metal, which are pretty, like, let's say, not PC game franchises until recently, where, you know, God of War like became toothless, and Twisted Metal, they don't even, like, they're just going to pretend like it doesn't exist because they can't bring it
There's
back,
no way to sugarcoat that one and not have it have like some, you know, actual masculinity.
You can't nerf that one, right? So, and I've been saying this has been going on for a while, and the important thing for people is to understand what it is we're dealing with, like really get to know what it is. So what I imagine that Smash AT found himself surprised by this. And again, I like him. I think he does good work. But this doesn't shock me at all. Like, I had no reaction when I learned that this was going on.
My reaction was, oh, this is another one of those things I've been talking about for years, and people thought I was being like, you know, too speculative or conspiratorial minded, because I actually had connections to, you know, some of these issues. And I know full well that when the Me Too Brigade did their Whisper Network on Rockstar specifically, a lot of people left that institution that are, you know, they're foundational, and not to say that those are the people that got Me Too, but along with the you know, three main creative creatives that left in 2020, there was a whole bunch of other people who were tenured and had, talent, skill, and ability, and were industry veterans that basically got, whittled out for whatever reason or other, because Rockstar was seen as the boys club, right?
Mhm.
And anybody that stuck around had to fall in line with the ideological paradigm that was shifting. And everyone, I'm not sure if everyone knows, but I was in line to get a job in the design department back in 2020 for Rockstar, because one of the guys I went to college with was their systems designer. And it was between myself, a young, fresh newbie that was just getting out of college, and 2 industry veterans. And between the 4 of us, we got all the way to the final steps. Obviously, in this day and age, it wasn't the industry veterans. It wasn't this problematic white guy. It was the person who was compliant and pliable and stars in his eyes that they thought they could mold into shape, and also, hire for a lower price of entry. And, the friend that I had from college that I'd known, for 20 years at this point in time, but I haven't spoken to him since 2020, basically, he went through a complete character shift, and just became very distant and weird and strange about a whole bunch of stuff. And he got very defensive about everything that was happening at work, because I try to just give him constructive criticism about kind of I know this isn't you, but the company you work for, they're doing some pretty stupid shit, it seems like. And he got ambivalent as all get out. And, reading this article just only kind of gave me a little bit more peace of mind on, what was going on, that it wasn't me that, caused an issue with my friend. I think that he was one of the people who complied, took this test, kept his job, and has, in a sense, kind of cut his own heart out, and has to give up his actual soul and, mind and everything that was intentionally set on what he wanted gaming to be, but now he's just comfortable taking the money. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yep. Yeah, and the thing that's happening here, and this is what I think the where it gets more interesting. So Smash JT was looking at this woman who put this thing together, this whole quiz or whatever, let's find out how racist you are and how problematic you are. Stacey A. Gordon put that together, and I'm going to show you all. These are just some screenshots or images that Smash put up on his website, and it's Stacey A. Gordon, MBA, she, her. So we got the pronouns. Is how we know. Of course. And she is a bias disruptor, unapologetic evangelist for inclusion, top voice in gender equity, keynote speaker. Nothing about gaming.
No.
So nothing about that. Experience, right. Rework. This is her company called Rework Work. Okay.
Right.
Rework Work is a Black-owned, woman-led, and certified organization dedicated to disrupting bias in workplaces around the globe. Even the most progressive companies often struggle to uncover their diversity, equity, and inclusion blind spots, which makes it hard to know which practices and solutions to implement to bring about lasting change. We are dedicated to fostering sustainable change on the journey towards building an inclusive workplace culture. Certified at the highest level, we hold experience working with executives across a wide variety of industries. We empower companies to create healthy people-first paradigms, which allow teams to be happier and more productive.
Jesus Christ, that is 6 sentences and not even one word about legitimate game development experience in any way, shape, or form. And from what I understand, she does claim that she shipped 1 or 2 games, but nobody can actually verify that actually being the case. They research Moby Games, they research all the places that one would go to look to see that you actually have a legitimate work history.
Yeah,
and there's nothing. So. I guess her idea of shipping a game is doing this shit.
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about this unconscious bias concept. Mm-hmm. This is going to be the thing that we learn today. This is our woke term of the week, okay? Because this is this is what is really important. You guys have to know how these people operate, because they use rhetoric is their number one weapon, okay?
Yep.
If you understand the rhetoric, then none of it, then it bounces off you, then it's meaningless. So when these people talk about unconscious bias, This is what they mean. Okay, let me define this for you guys.
Are we bringing up the wheel of privilege? Because we did
we
this
don't have to. Because
good.
I got it. Yeah. No,
I harassed everybody yesterday when we were on reality based doing Tangent Kings.
Yeah.
I had everybody take the wheel of privilege quiz, and we saw who was the most privileged. No surprises, it was me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Mm-hmm. All right, so
just barely though.
Another word for you might hear instead of unconscious bias is something called implicit bias. So implicit bias or unconscious bias is an attribution of stereotypes of certain qualities onto specific social groups, read identities, that takes place almost entirely beneath one's awareness. This is what they're telling you. It's saying you may not think you're sexist, but you are because of unconscious bias.
Right.
Someone with an implicit or unconscious bias against Black people, for example, may consider themselves not racist or even anti-racist with respect to Black people while exhibiting attitudes like anti-Blackness or holding racial stereotypes about Black people. These biases existing beneath one's conscious awareness. Even more insidiously, implicit bias can refer to having very generic associations with some identity factors that do not manifest even to the level of stereotypes, but that may produce very subtle differences in intuitive or cognitive assessment of members of certain identity groups as compared with others. To understand this last point, implicit bias testing is considered to be the way in which implicit biases can be detected. The way this testing proceeds is to present a person with a number of words with some clearly identifiable valence. Examples are positive versus negative, science versus non-science, etc., and some indicator of identities such as pronouns, images of people, or stereotypically ethnic names. The tests carefully track how quickly people can complete certain association tasks when the positive valence terms are associated with one identity and negative with the other versus when they are switched. The underlying assumption is that if it takes longer to associate positive valence ideas with certain identities than others, then it must be due to some learned but implicit bias. For instance, if it takes someone longer to associate science words with women than it does with men, the test would indicate an implicit bias against women in science.
Holy
Much of
Christ.
this research that's so the thing about this is
it sounds like Ministry of Truth bullshit.
It is woke word language control to control people. And the thing is, the more liberal you think you are, the more tolerant you think you are, the more vulnerable you are to this stuff. So this woman that we're talking about, what's her name again? Stacey Gordon. I'm going to show you a picture of her. This woman here is actually making more money off of the libs than anything else because they're the ones that are the most likely to be like, oh my God, I'm not racist. I'll do anything to prove it.
Well, they have to pay for their white guilt, don't you know?
That's exactly right.
If I give you enough money, it absolves me of my, whatever the fuck it is.
My sins. Yeah. It's how to of my original sin of being white. So this is like a weapon that is used in that sense. And you'll notice like when he did that test, he said that most of the people involved with the testing were white or Asian, but mostly white. And Jim Smash AT pointed out that appeared to be hypocritical. But again, this is another thing you guys have to understand, okay? These people don't care about hypocrisy. They care about power. That's
exactly.
It. So no matter like how hypocrite, you can't be like, well, you said you care about women. What about this? Like, that's not going to work, guys. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care about hypocrisy. They care about hierarchy, and they want to put themselves at the top, okay? You have to get this through your head, guys. You have to, because I know that most people operate under let's say, like a set of values where they try to be consistent. In good faith, but they also try to be consistent. They try to say, look, I'm going to treat everyone the same because if I don't, that's hypocritical, right? You know, like just to get slightly religious
would be
for
bias.
a moment. Yeah, just to get slightly religious for a moment. The one type of person that Jesus Christ called out more than anybody were hypocrites. That was like that comes up in the New Testament, said by him more than most other things, in fact. Because
hypocrites and Pharisees.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing.
Yeah, Pharisees are. I know. That's what I was about to say. Is hypocrites are
Yeah,
Pharisees, and nobody
Pharisees
knows what a
are
Pharisee
hypocrites,
is.
But
yeah,
the there's a reason for that, right? And these people ignore that completely because to them they are like Pharisees. They use words and what they take what is said to be the truth and they twist it with their sort of postmodern, subjective morality, worldview, death of the author stuff to essentially like craft a new truth and then say this is my truth. Like that is why, like I said, hypocrisy doesn't work. Okay,
they either
like
try to
hypocrites doesn't work.
Yeah, they either try to change the meaning of well-established words, or if there is a word that people have a negative association with, they'll go and they'll change the term that they use with it. We could see this most easily in, what was once genetically modification became gain of function, then became directed evolution, all in the span of under a decade, as it relates to COVID Hell World, And they do this in every facet of reality, not just in the science, quote unquote, but also especially in the media,
Yeah. So back to implicit bias. Implicit bias is considered of utmost importance to the theory of critical social justice. So it's like a central part of it. Okay. There and somewhat beyond, they are explained as being rooted in experiences and learned associations, often by means of socialization into identity-based systems of power and the ideologies that support and naturalize them. Because remember, these people don't believe, like they're not, they don't believe in things like evolution, even though they claim to. They don't believe in things like biology, even though they claim to. They believe everything is socialized, everything is bias, everything's learned.
a social construct.
Yeah, everything's a social construct, right? So the theory, ideologies, the theory of critical social justice and much of the activism that proceeds from it considers implicit biases to be tantamount to hard evidence of the kinds of false consciousness around the entire theory of systemic injustice turns. Consistent with its ultimately critical mission, which is always believed that oppression largely results from unjust systems of power that fail to be properly identified and criticized. See also critical theory. Much of what it advocates in practice boils down to looking for the root causes of implicit bias and engaging with them to eradicate them. See also, look up critical consciousness, which is woke. So when people say, what does woke even mean, which some people still ask me about, and I just say it's critical consciousness, you could just say it's also critical social justice.
Yeah, I call it corporate altruism is how I define it, because it's just like a lot of top-down thinking that makes you, adherent to a system that, is ultimately about profiteering. It's completely disconnected from any actual principles and values.
Yeah, there is a problem with that, though, because if you use the word corporate, then the person you're arguing with can say, well, I hate corporations. Like, give them an out. So you have to say, look, it's basically just critical consciousness. You're looking at the world in terms of relationships of power, like that's the only thing that exists, and also the idea that everything is socially socialized, social constructs. Some people, Death to Zionism and Feminism says woke is feminism. Yes, I know, but a lot of people are not ready for that. It is feminism. We know. Well, that's where it comes from. Dean Domino, thank you, gives us $5 and says, no, it won't happen, but would love to subject these people to this kind of training with their anti-male bias. I don't really want to engage in struggle sessions with people over that, though. And men wouldn't want that either. They just want people out of the way.
Right. Because ultimately, like, I'm sure if you've been here in the show before, you've heard me say plenty of times that equity is vengeance. And that's kind of the whole thing, is like, you don't actually improve the situation by retaliation, and which is what these people do. And they like to play the game that, I'm more
into that.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, they believe that, being, as they say, morally correct is better than being factually accurate. But then they're the same people who will sit here, give you scripture and verse about how, like, pasty-ass white men throughout history have done all these terrible things. and how like none of that should ever happen, and then they turn right around after saying all that and commit to doing the exact same thing. And so it's like, all right, well, if all these pasty white guys were ignorant in what they were doing, then why are you doing it with fuller knowledge if you aren't, completely and utterly evil?
Mm-hmm. All right, but anyway, yeah, like let's see, Death is Zionism and Feminism says feminism. Gabriel Phelan Lucas says you can just say feminism, you don't have to write it that way. Feminism is gynocentric Marxism anyway. Gabriel also says it's called Lysenkoism. The new Lysenkoists, minimum 15 to 30 million died directly due to Lysenkoist policy in Stalin's Russia and Mao's great leap forward in China.
I just call it fuckery,
actually. But we know what it looks like. What I'm saying is that like Smash JT, if you are listening, don't worry about them being hypocritical. They don't care. And I mean, just tell people that is spread the word about it. Like, make sure that people understand that the woke left, the feminist left, whatever you want to call it, they don't care about hypocrisy. They care about winning, period. And then
by any cost.
By any cost. So it doesn't matter how they talk about it. So
yeah, they'll even trans your kids just to spite you.
Oh yeah, they convince women to kill their own unborn children, which is essentially acting against women's nature, and they go along with it. They convince men to submit themselves to women and to become like women and to even live as women, and that's another that they did all of that. Like J.K. Rowling losing her shit over the trans thing. She created that problem, and she will never be able to admit it because she created the standards for that to happen. It's her fault, okay? Like, that's what I'm saying. It's her fault.
Various forms of soft kill genocide until they can actually just commit to an actual culling of the masses. But the nice thing is you don't have to outright destroy people if you convince them to destroy themselves or at least their ability to procreate.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next story. This one was shared to me in my Discord server. If you guys want to join my Discord server, there's a link in the description.
You got another.
What? I did?
Oh no, never mind.
Oh, the super chat. I already read that one. Yeah. All right, so during comicsgate, there was a number of people who were starting their own books that were, sort of the early adopters, and one of them was this book called Kamen America, which was essentially like a major pushback against the sort of uglification of women in comic books. Yes, it was happening in comic books before it was happening in video games. And that's why it's important to watch what's going on in other parts of our culture, because what happens in the parts that have a lower bar of entry, like comic books, it's it doesn't cost as much to make a comic book as it does to design a video game, for example, is that downstream from that, it's going to affect other things. So Kamen America was kind of like a return to, attractive female characters that looked like female characters that were embracing their femininity. And that was why it was successful, aside from the fact that it did have some pretty good artwork, considering it was an indie book. But IndieGoGo apparently is refusing to pay out Kamen America's creator, Tim Lim, on multiple crowdfunding campaigns. So they basically turned on them. I'll read through this. This comes from Fandom Pulse. Shout out to Jonathan Trent and John Delarose, the guys who work there. They used to work at Bounding Into Comics, but Bounding Into Comics sold out to various larger interests, and so they've gone out and they're striking out on their own now. So check out Phantom Pulse Substack. It's very good. It's where all their stories go now. That Park Place, which used to be a big resource, that was also Jonathan Trent's thing. It's basically moved away from that just because it wants to focus on what it was from the beginning, which is essentially a website that talks about theme parks, hence the name. So they're not traders or anything like that, but they're just trying to stay focused on their particular thing. So check out Phantom Pulse, check out That Park Place, and check out Smash JT. I think those are probably some of the best resources when it comes to what's going on. So anyway, IndieGoGo, which is a crowdfunding, website, kind of like what was the really big one? Kickstarter. So they've been shown to cause problems for creators multiple times in the past. Often it's because of politics being played with funding due to a pattern of lack of disbursement of funding to Tim Lim, the creator of the Kamen America comic. Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini have a huge hit with Kamen America, with several campaigns making well over $100,000 for the manga-inspired book on Kickstarter. The team also has run campaigns repeatedly on IndieGoGo for more than 5 years. Not only do they have a very popular book, but Lim and Pellegrini have a reputation for delivering their products to customers like clockwork. Their books meeting delivery timing goals every single time, a rarity for crowdfunding in comics. In many ways, they are the model creators these platforms should be endorsing or encouraging. And here's like some of the great artwork. I've never read Kamen America, but I do know that they even have like an animation for it now, and it's growing. You know, it's like probably about as big as the Rippaverse is, which is also
speaking of the Rippaverse, I mean this story is a direct mirror to what happened with Eric July. I can't remember if it was IndieGoGo or if it was a Kickstarter that was holding back his funding and making him wait like long extended periods of times and everything like that, which is the reason that he actually started his current business and everything that goes along with it.
Well, yeah, it does. I know that he's also had problems. So, however, Lim posted to X account detailing the problems he had with IndieGoGo regarding payouts for the campaigns over the years, with 3 screenshots detailing the problems he's had with them. He said, after 6 years, this might be our last time using IndieGoGo. They are late with our disbursement by 2 weeks. I asked for an update stating the window they provided after a delay, and after that, they gave me the schedule for Butch Killigan 2. It's not even the first time this has happened. The screenshots detail how IndieGoGo had delayed sending funds to the Kamen America creator on 3 occasions. The first gives a clue it might be politically motivated, as the site's being reviewed by Trust and Safety. The second also says the issue requires investigation from our payments team. And it says here, hi, Timothy, thanks for checking in on your campaign's disbursement status. I apologize for any confusion. Our records show that your campaign still needs to be reviewed by our Trust and Safety team. The newest note comes from Butch Killigan Volume 2 campaign, in which IndieGoGo admits the book was triggered for disbursement on November 21st, 2024, and yet on December 4th, they tell Lim that he's needed to wait 3 to 5 business days since that date, despite 3 to 5 business days having already passed.
I don't think that one was written by a human being. That one looks like that was just a pre-scripted thing.
Oh,
just
this thing right here?
that one specifically, because like you're already past 3 to 5 days, and then just saying, oh well, you're gonna have to wait 3 to 5 days from the point of interaction now, and it's like the point of interaction was supposed to be weeks ago.
Yeah, so apparently they have a pattern of doing this. There is a new website, so there's an alternative. A crowdfunding platform called Fund My Comic. All right. And they've gained traction in recent days because of IndieGoGo and Kickstarter banning people over their political differences. On the monetary side, Fund My Comic pays out creators through the payment system Stripe immediately, rather than collecting and holding funds for the duration of the campaign, allowing creators flexibility in being able to work on their projects with the funds while the campaign is active. Lim indicated he would not be going to Fund My Comic for the time being, though others have urged him to do this on his X thread. So, IndieGoGo is kind of selling out, and that is a shame. So I don't know if you're somebody who supports indie developers and whatnot, that might be something worth looking at. So, do you have any thoughts on that, John?
Well, the only thing I would say is I think it's more of a past tense. I think IndieGoGo sold out a long time ago, and now it's just becoming impossible to see it for anything other than what it is, which is an ideological scheme derived to just benefit people that they find in their just subjective way of thinking, and anybody that falls outside of that, then they're going to do everything they can to commit to the fuckery.
I guess we'll see. Hopefully he does. Dean Domino says Ripa's issue was with PayPal. PayPal, I think sometimes there's issues with that, but apparently that was it. It was PayPal. So IndieGoGo, PayPal, Kickstarter, Patreon, those are all like kind of danger zones.
Mhm.
We might need to find alternatives to that. So, all right. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think about that one in the comments. Have you guys read Kamen America? What do you think about it? I like the artwork.
Yeah.
I like they did like an animation too, and I thought it was pretty cute. You know, it's not really my bag. Like I'm not into like the cheesecake as much, but I appreciate what they are doing. So, and I do, like I said, I thought the art's good.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. So this is just, I thought this was kind of funny. So Kingdom Come Deliverance developer humiliates Bioware and Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
Yeah, this is a good story.
So Daniel Vavra, the developer of Kingdom Come Deliverance and the upcoming Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which I guess is a lot of hype for, humiliated BioWare and Electronic Arts and their Dragon Age: The Veilguard game. Vavra posted on X, a comparison of the Steam metrics between Kingdom Come Deliverance and Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Oof. The metrics show that Kingdom Come Deliverance hit an all-time peak of 96,000 concurrent players compared to Veilguard's 89,000 concurrent players. Furthermore, it shows that Kingdom Come Deliverance had more players playing in the last 24 hours, with the game hitting a concurrent peak of 10,926, while Veilguard only did 10,727. Finally, it showed that, yes, it is great. Finally, it showed that 7,615 people were playing Kingdom Come Deliverance compared to just 4,635 in Veilguard. He wrote, wow, 7-year-old game versus recent release. And so, yeah, his game came out like Kingdom Come Deliverance. Let me see. What is it? 2024. So 2017,
Yep.
his game came out. And I've heard nothing but good things about it. It's but I you know, I don't know if it's like my bag per se. I mean, I guess it's an RPG. I have no idea.
Well, it's 8% off right now, so you can get it for.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. From December
check it
4th
out.
through the 18th.
If it's 7 years old, it might run on my machine. So,
Right.
Of note, Kingdom Come Deliverance is on sale for 80% off from December 4th through the 18th because the sequel is coming out. So that's good. Why not visit Bohemia for 80% off? So there is that. Vavra's comments come after his studio, Warhorse Studios, announced that it would release Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 a week early on February 4th, 2025. As for the reason why, Warhorse Studios spokesman Tony Stahl-Zwilling said, why, you might ask? Well, simple. You can start 2025 with the best game there is. So there you go. It's yeah, he all he had to do was show his numbers. Like that's the extent of this own.
Yep.
It's just like, here's how well my game sold. And yeah, Dragon Age is crap. But
which is why is it Ubisoft that's trying to get Steam to stop using to stop actually documentation, because I'm pretty sure it's Ubisoft. I could be wrong, but I know someone specifically, one of the larger publishing houses, is trying to get Steam to stop showing the numbers because they've been, utterly embarrassed so harshly in the last few weeks.
Yeah. All right, well, yeah, good news for them, and I hope that the sequel to Kingdom Come Deliverance does well. I bet it's going to make much better numbers than the first game because the environment, the vibe in the gaming world has shifted so much since 2017. Yeah. So I think that, yeah, we'll see. I'm excited. I'm going to look at those numbers and use them as like a way to measure like how much the vibe has changed.
In comparison, it's firmly in the top 20 of sales on Steam right now. It's actually number 15.
First
whereas, one? Let's see. I believe, let's double check here. Currently, as 104,452 followers, it sits at number 15 in wishlist, so it must be the second game. But they compared it. Yeah, because they compared it to Veilguard, and Veilguard is like all the way down at the bottom. It's barely even like, it's going to fall off being able to be tracked here soon enough.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you love to see like what we've been talking about since we first started this show. Like, support the independents. They actually have people that want to tell you good stories, give a shit about factual accuracy, and not just doing a whole bunch of gender and racial inclusivity when it goes directly against the historical facts and geographical placement at the time that the story's set in. So this is definitely something to keep an eye out for, especially the first game being 80% off. I mean, if I was a guy with money, I might pick it up just for the sake of sticking it to EA myself.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think about that in the comments. Are you thinking about picking up Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is on sale now, or the sequel, which is coming out in 2 months? Let me know in the comments. I want to know what you guys think about that. If you've already played the first one, let me know what you think about that as well. I've heard nothing but good things. All right. So next up, we got this is just a short one I wanted to mention because I do have a point to make about this. So there is a new Star Wars game coming out. I didn't know that. I learned about this yesterday. Right. So I think this story broke yesterday anyway. But here's the thing, okay? Quantic Dream. First of all, we already know Star Wars is basically a dead IP at this point.
Yep.
No one's looking forward to much of anything. But it's also worth looking at like who is involved and what is going on with it, because then you can see it's like performing an autopsy. Yep. You want to know why it died, okay? And I'm all about pointing that out. So
this is another one of those stories from today that it was like, oh, look at me, I was right on my crazy speculation again.
Yeah,
stuff that I've said on this very channel was proven true in this article, which is great.
Yep. So Quantic Dream is coming up with, or they're developing a Star Wars game called Star Wars Eclipse. I just want to briefly give, I'm not going to get into the plot details, don't care. But I'm going to tell you why I know this is going to be woke garbage. Number one, Quantic Dream. Okay? They were involved with Dustborn. So I don't know how these people keep getting work, but that is the truth. Quantic Dream involved with Dustborn. The other thing is that the setting that this is in. This is during the High Republic. Is that what they called it?
Yeah.
So when Disney bought Star Wars, one of the first things they did was they had people come up with more prehistory in the Star Wars universe. And that came about as the High Republic, which is essentially going to be a retcon of Star Wars. I guarantee you, because essentially they set it far back enough that they can use it to sort of rewrite the story of Star Wars. This game takes place in the High Republic, and the High Republic,
the smoking crack High Republic.
The way that it started out was that it was essentially a series of novels, and they had these books thrown together, and the books are it's a good way to sort of like lay down the laying the groundwork for them to change things. Okay, so and you can see that they did this in multiple areas, right? So first they did it in the books, and then if you play Jedi Survivor, there are these in the game, there are ruins of the High Republic you can go to, and there's a whole High Republic storyline that's being moved into the Jedi Survivor game, which is carried over from the original one, Fallen Order, which I thought was great, but it didn't have any of that shit in there because at that time, Disney wasn't really involved with Star Wars, but the franchise existed. So there was that. And then
another thing Disney does is
with the Acolytes too, which is also taking place during the High Republic. And what were the takeaways from that for people who watched it? Not me, but
the mysteries of the Moist Cave.
Yeah, and the lesbian space witches and Jedis are bad guys. That's what. So this is going to be more of that. But what were you going to say, John?
The way that Disney gets away with this stuff is licensing fees, right? So they are able. And
I'm going to turn off my camera for a moment, but I'm not going anywhere. Okay,
no worries.
Go ahead.
But this is actually something I was saying when Outlaw came out. Was ostensibly they're able to offload all the risk onto the developers themselves because the developers have to pay licensing fees, number one, to work on these games, and then number two, have to meet certain sales projections, things like that, to actually get their fullness of their payout. So they're starting from a very, in a position that is kind of in the lurch, especially when you look at what has become of the Star Wars franchise. But generally speaking, these companies are usually willing to commit to this because they like to think that, a familiar brand IP that people have nostalgia for should easily be something that people would pay money towards. but because all this top-down control goes into the developers, kind of like there's a whole bunch of hurdles in the road that are explicitly put there by Disney or Disney's control groups. And then the developer, because they've signed on a contract, they have no way to avoid certain things that Disney demands must be done. And so that's when you see Ubisoft really suffering. Isn't even necessarily because Ubisoft is woke as fuck. Let's not dispute that at all. But the people that are behind the storyteller group at Disney, specifically for things like Lucasfilms and the people that they're in association with, which is what the story will get into, are the people that actually put those constraints on people being able to actually tell any kind of legitimate stories, and are only there to carry out narrative design, which is from the top down and just about all this kind of weird kind of social constructing. So
yeah, for sure. I don't have anything to say to that. That's good. All right,
kind of cuts right to the meat of it, right?
Yeah, it does. It just cut to the chase. So, all right. So then, I guess like that was it for the stories. I do want to talk about one other thing that I've been thinking about. This is going back to the Chinese thing. So, I think that there are. So, okay, we look at sales, right, for Black Myth Wukong, for example.
Yeah.
And I think that there are definitely people who are pro Gamergate that bought that game. And then there are people who are pro Gamergate that think that, that is a mistake, right?
Right.
And I'm not going to buy it, or at least I don't. Maybe if it goes on sale, I don't know. But the thing is that I think that there might be, because it's tough, right? Like, let's put it this way: say you're a Chinese person that lives in China, and you want to build your own gaming studio. You want to start a gaming studio, but you live in China. So you might have like the best intentions in terms of what you are hoping to accomplish, right? Like as a game studio head, but the problem is that if you start a business in China, it doesn't matter what business it is really, because the Chinese government is in fact a fascist government, because it essentially makes companies part of the party. Like you're not going to thrive if you're not like working towards the party's interests and you live in that country.
Right.
So I think that there are probably a number of very talented people that have an interest in creating content that live in a place where they have to play ball, right?
Yes.
So I mean I'm not a fan of Tencent, but we already talked about earlier how if you like if you buy a TV, it's probably even if the TV itself is like an American company or a Japanese company, there are probably parts, chips or something that are part of Tencent. So it's almost like unavoidable that you're giving them money somehow. And really, this is what I said earlier when I said that in a way, the only solution to that problem is in a way going to come from at least our government getting out of the way of independent, let's say entrepreneurial minded people, like people who have an entrepreneurial spirit that want to make stuff, and they should probably focus on giving us the freedom and support as Americans to build things. Because right now, what are Western studios doing? This is another thing, right? Like I predicted back when Black Myth Wukong came out, I had this thought that what if, this is what I said, what if companies like Tencent, who owns the studio that made Black Myth Wukong, it's not that Tencent made the game, but they own the studio that made the game. Can't remember the name of the studio, but and I said, what if companies like Tencent in consort or in cooperation with BlackRock and Vanguard and Blackstone and like these other really big gigantic super corporations. What if they are, and I said this when Black Myth Wukong came out, what if they are the ones promoting this ESG, DEI shit for Western companies, but not for their own companies as a means to get an edge? So, and so Black Myth Wukong doesn't have any woke shit in it because Tencent's not going to hurt their own bottom line. They're going to hurt the Western devs, Ubisoft, EA, Activision. They're going to hurt their bottom line, right?
In a weird way, in a weird way, what you're saying is not unlike the thing that I was just talking about with Disney and the way that they and their affiliates can control what the devs themselves do because of all this kind of backroom meddling. But with what you're talking about, China can do that as well here in America, but they don't do it domestically for their own gain because it benefits them.
Well, all they have to do is make things harder for us and not sort of like meddle with their own people, right? And it works out. And the thing is that, though, I will say a couple of other things about this because I think where there's like a desire to pick on the Chinese, but our government is doing this to us, like our own government is doing this to us, right? And so we have to recognize that. And also, where I'm going with this too is that. Like it may be, I've been thinking about this a lot. So there's this new game that just came out that I have tried out called Marvel Rivals. And it's been very, very much making the rounds, very popular. I think that Irwin did, they did like a spot on it on yesterday, their show yesterday. I don't know what their show. It's like the pre-Friday Night Tights thing. I think
pre-FNT. I actually named that show that show on the channel. Yeah.
Oh, pre-FNT. Yeah. So that's a good. That's a good. That was a good idea. And he was talking about how how good it was from art design, game design perspective, and how he's interested in trying it out. Now it is free to play. That means it's going to have like microtransactions and currencies, but that's kind of the thing is like that is just like kind of where we are now. If you want something like a bit bigger, but the devs behind that game, because I've been looking into it, because it is reminiscent of what Overwatch used to be, and that was something my wife and I played a lot of, but we stopped for I don't know. We haven't played Overwatch in years. Because of the direction it went in and like all of the little changes they made and stuff. And so we just stopped. And one of the other things that happened to Overwatch was it did go, more woke than it probably was already going. Like it was, you know what I mean?
Went from Overwatch to overwoke, indeed.
Yeah, it did. So, but yeah, so Marvel Rivals is like the sequel, or people are calling it a sequel to Overwatch. That's a real good upgrade. And so I said, okay, I'll check it out. It's free to play. I downloaded it. It runs on my machine barely. So I don't know how much time I'm going to be able to give to it, but I thought I would give it a shot. And I think that it is very solid. But then I learned that it is developed by a Chinese company. I can't remember the name of the company, but they're also working in cooperation with other companies, some of which are Western and whatnot. But the thing is that they're not owned by Tencent. So they've actually been in legal battles with Tencent. I think Tencent's trying to buy them, and they're trying not to be bought. So the reason I bring this up is because, like, just so that we have like an idea of like what the landscape in China is. I know that they're way more like authoritarian, and the government's way more involved in people's lives. But our government's not far off, and they're definitely going for the same thing. It's a NetEase product. Thank you, Robert Johnson. Yeah, I think they did a lot of mobile games, and they were involved with some other games that were, I can't remember the name of them, but there were a couple of other titles. What's that sound coming from your end?
Oh, that's the owl. Yeah, it just wants to be on the show.
Oh,
it's an owl or like a very boisterous pigeon, but I think it's an owl.
Okay. But anyway, so what I'm wondering about is, because I think it's like a very solid AA game. I don't think it's not a giant AAA thing. And it's free. And so like and so it brings about this other thought I'm having, which is going back to Backmit Wukong and like some of these Korean games like Stellar Blade and stuff, like do you support, and I know we should support the indies, and I have a couple I want to promote, so I'm not going backing off of that at all. But if you are interested in a game that does come from, out of a Chinese studio, but it doesn't have any of the woke politics in it, and it is like a return to a more, let's say, like, aesthetic look, and a more like, it's sort of like a callback to like the way things were, does that also have an effect? Because I don't think that the big studios are going to change until something bad happens to them. But we're talking about the big Western studios, right?
Right. Yes.
So Bethesda and BioWare and EA and Activision, etc. The only way they're going to back off is if like they feel the pain, but they also should see what people are supporting that tells them, oh, maybe we should be doing stuff more like that because that is selling, right?
Right.
So just putting that out there. I'm probably going to give Marvel Rivals another shot as well. Because I played a little bit of it. It was very fun, and it did remind me of Overwatch, but like in a lot of ways better. And I think that if something like that exists and it comes out of a Chinese studio, why couldn't a Western studio do something and it not be Concord? Because that's like the equivalent, right?
Right.
Those are our choices.
Right.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. I think that there should be a positive example in a higher budget space that people should be aiming for, that they were showing them this is what you could be doing, but you're not. Like this could be us, but you're fucking around with Concord. That's basically what I'm saying.
Right. Well, I think what you're saying is it's one of those things that it revolves on the context of the situation, not just nitpicky bullshit. Like, is it something to be leery of when a developer is Chinese based? Sure, but same thing for what we're sitting here talking about. Like, Ubisoft in many ways is worse than a Chinese developer at this point in time.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Bethesda, Ubisoft, BioWare, all of them.
Right. And so in that regard, it's like even if you're just kind of it's like Elon Musk currently, I use X as a profile to kind of do advertisement and whatnot for the stuff I do here on YouTube. But that doesn't mean that I implicitly trust Elon Musk and think that he's not without his own kind of issues.
Oh, he wants to put chips in people's brains.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely concerns.
Right, but if I were to let that nitpicky bullshit get in the way of me actually being able to use a platform that's still currently, not to say there isn't censorship on X as well, but it's far less of an issue than it is on any other kind of social media platform. And so that's the thing. Like, you have to take everything with context and actually be willing to dig into it and find out kind of how well it actually meets these things. And even if it doesn't, I'm far from perfect, neither are you. All of us have our flaws and our failings. So, to actually deal with something in a more holistic kind of mindset and actually kind of take it for what its intention is and not necessarily how it necessarily comes off, because it's very easy to sit here and try to say, well, you can't do this because of this reason, that reason, so on and so forth. But I would say let your principles and values be your guide in any of these matters. But ultimately, if someone's operating in good faith, even if they have like a little bit of kind of I guess a little bit of stickiness in their in their field, don't necessarily just throw the baby out with the bathwater, as the expression goes, because you might end up missing out on more often than not things would actually benefit you if you try to hold such a stringent a degree of what you consider something that you can do business with, especially in the 21st century, because we're all compromised to some degree, unfortunately. If not, some of us are outright corrupted, and some of that.
Sure.
And some of that is like you, especially like when you look at things like because we've got a little bit of wiggle room here now, things like the food supply and things like that, that aren't necessarily someone going out and looking to not be nourished appropriately, but the profiteers that have had, decades upon decades of reinforcement now just have to the point where, a lot of people have been cajoled into a false sense of trust and believing people that ultimately are just, in it for themselves. But that doesn't mean that can't actually just try to live your life to the best of your ability, and try to contend with these things. But I try to eat a clean as diet as possible. But there are some days where it's just kind of like, well, like today might be one of those days where I've got so much going on, I might have to order a pizza. And does that mean it's going to come in a box that has PFAs, that will leach into this and that, and there's some degree of toxicity that I'm going to be encountering? Yeah, probably, unfortunately. And that doesn't, necessarily mean that that you have to kind of choose your battles as they come. And that's what I would say for as it applies to the game industry specifically, because there's not any one person or group that is probably 100% solid, because even the people that are invested in them might be compromised. And so it's sticky wicket. So use your best judgment, but if you make a mistake, the nice thing about life is we all make mistakes. You can always just kind of change course and try, but try a different path as you move forward.
Yeah. And also, just as an aside, some of the people that worked on Marvel Rivals that work with NetEase, they used to work. They were former employees of other Western developers like Blizzard and Rockstar. So it's not like just a bunch of Chinese guys.
Right. They got headhunted to go to a better, to greener pastures, because they're not going to get hired here in America.
Exactly. And so I think that in a way, us trying to be an example, or not being the example. I mean, we want to do that too, but also to sort of demonstrate the example. Dean Domino says Razorfist has been saying it for a while and bangs the drum about it as much as he can. I know, but exactly, I agree with that. But here's the thing: Western devs have to change. We shouldn't support them. So we have two options, and I think that they're not bad to use both. One is to support the indies, obviously, which I'm going to show off some today, and another one is to show support the larger non-Western devs that are doing work that is what we want to see more of, so the Western devs can see that. Because yes, I think it's a tactic, but China's not going anywhere. So if we decide to not buy Black Myth Wukong, it's not like Xi Jinping is going to get sucked into the dark dimension. They're just going to keep going. You know what I'm saying? So we might as well just, I don't hold any ill will to anyone who bought it. But that's what I'm saying. Razorfist wants, he might be letting the perfect be the enemy of the good, but it's not bad to recognize that and point it out. And that's what I'm doing, and that's what I was doing. I suspected as much for a while as well. But again, at the end of the day, Western developers and publishers went along with it. And they were like, oh yeah, this sounds good. And then they started putting it in their games. And then when their games failed, or when people pointed it out, what do? They attack the customers. The Chinese are not attacking the customers. So I'm sorry, but if you buy their games, I get it. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it certainly makes more sense to buy those games than it does, the direct that has been coming out the last few months from Ubisoft or EA, Oblivion, or not Oblivion, Obsidian, rather.
Yeah, and I mean, don't be a culture junkie and just get everything just because. But be discerning. But if there's a certain kind of game you like, and it so happens that a developer from the Far East is doing it better than a developer in the West, well, maybe just go with the Far East one. I mean, and then if people say, why didn't you get the new, Western thing? You just tell them, well, because it's shit. Actually, we're going to show something off right now.
This game looks great.
Yeah, Robert Johnson said, it's not as if South Korea and Japan are slacking. You could focus on those and ignore China and the West and keep yourself entertained. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, some South Korean games are a bit of their own kind of trap. I'm not into the gacha games. I'm not into, what was it? Zenless Zone Zero. It's basically a non-game that has a lot of waifus in it. Or the one that came before that. I can't even remember the name of it. Genshin Impact. That's not really my thing. I'm not into it, but
Teach their own.
Yeah, teach their own. I mean, if that's what they're putting out. So
yeah.
Anyway, all right. So we're gonna look at some cake now, some good stuff.
Indeed.
First, we're gonna look at this game, Ananta, which I guess this is this Chinese?
This is what I'm going to refer to as my GTA 6.
Yeah, this is basically GTA, what it should have been, or what it could have been. And again, this is an open world. I think it's an RPG. Let's just look at the trailer. I'm just gonna play the whole thing. We can talk about it if you like. So here we go.
Yeah.
Wake up, sleepyhead. The wildest city's coming right
Good
up.
Vice City vibes from this.
Good Vice City
In the
vibes
best
from
kind
this.
of way.
In the best kind of way.
What are you waiting for? Waiting for? Waiting for? Let me know, kimi no. Now, countdown, get it on, turn it on, kiss no seki wo. Now, 甘い夜がかけた魔法は落法の果て。Now, 吸い込まれて溶けて混ぜて制限の手限。
Skibbity! Skibbity! The running toilets.
The running toilets.
Dangers on the horizon. That you
Yeah,
know,
they're toilets with legs.
Yeah, they're toilets with
the
legs.
thing that keeps us united. That one thing.
Let's get home early and game on.
And now I don't have to worry about the fact that I don't buy Spider-Man games. I love that they show off all the side things that you can do, taken directly from GTA's, previous games. This thing is well placed.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Ananta. I don't know why, like my
That's all right.
video was
That's
kind
all
of
right.
choppy.
Yeah.
I apologize, guys. I think that I'll have to figure out what's going on with my machine, but check out the look it up yourself if you haven't seen it. The animation's very good. I can see that like these Eastern developers are really stepping up their game. I remember when Western companies were the ones sort of like leading the charge in terms of like network stuff, multiplayer, online stuff. And now the Asians are catching up.
Very much so, especially the thing I'm really digging about that, even though it is a free-to-play game, it will probably still cost less money than anybody who is silly enough to buy into GTA 6, because GTA 6 has been set up with they already have the finance model in place. It's called GTA Plus, and if you play GTA Online these days, it's already turned it into a live service model game, and it's $8 a month to get access to this, that, and the other. That's exactly what people are going to have to like deal with in GTA 6. And so I would almost rather somebody just be upfront about their monetization scheme than try to act like they're somehow doing you a favor by giving you this live service bullshit. To make it more premium of a title. So I definitely look forward to this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty good, and again, it's like their answer to GTA. So then there's this very small indie game that someone shared to me in the Discord. Again,
nice.
It's called Blood Running, and it's a little like pixel-based indie shooter. It's a stylish extraction shooter where you'll enter the cyber wasteland, fight off creatures and bandits, loot gear, and venture into the remnants of a world in ruins. Are you willing to bleed to survive, Blood Runner? So let's take a look at this. I want to full screen it, but I'm not going to because
right. Resources.
So we'll just play it from here.
It's got like some cool retro vibes to it. It's got good audio.
So yeah, it's blood running. Gabriel, echo is bad. Dean Domino says some games to show motor, doom, and ferociousness. All right, I'll look those up. Hold on, let me see if I can figure out what's going on with my sound here. Let me see. Let me lower this and raise this. Okay, you should say something.
Check.
Okay, what is this? Hold on a second. Trying to figure out what's going
Where's
on.
the source of the echo? Is it this problem?
Is it my end?
Games?
Or is it the game? Yeah. That's what I wanted to know. Output, audio, nothing here. So for some reason I see, let me see here. Maybe it's my computer's audio, like the way that it's routing things. Sometimes my machine does that, and I don't know why. Okay, so that's Chrome, and I think I need to. Let me see. Hold on a second, guys. I am sorry about this. Gabriel says, I think I have this wish listed. All right, would you say something, John?
No, I was just thinking to myself that if you don't use Mixline audio software, it might be something you look into. It's free from Logitech, and
I
works
have
really well for routing.
I have Voice Meter Banana.
Yeah.
And I also have a virtual audio cable. I have a lot of stuff. Trumpet. Yeah. So, I think I see. So, microphone. Hello. Okay. I'm just testing my own microphone. Ferocious. Oh, it's just called ferocious. It's not ferocious. Shush. Okay. All right. Let's see here.
It's me.
Oh, okay. So it's you. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Try this.
I do apologize. Unfortunately, I'm just a guy sitting behind the mic, and I don't really have anything that I can adjust on my end.
All right. Let me just see where the sound is coming from. So that's the game audio. I think I know what's going on here. So let me just check here. Properties, cable input, that should be correct. Let me just look at this. Cable input, where's John? There, yep, that's right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that alone as it is. I lowered this other thing. I'm going to take the, we go into the screen I'm sharing.
Yeah.
Source, browser, properties, turn that off. Okay. And then go back. Okay. So let me see if this did anything. Would you say something for me?
Yeah. Testing, and all that. I was gonna say something outlandish, but I figured I'd spare you from that today.
Let's see if that's good. I moved some things around. Okay, so we're gonna go into the next thing. So this is called Crowned in Steel, and this is very early build. I did an interview with these guys over on the It's Based YouTube channel for the It's Based Game Jam, and they had the glorious fortune of talking with these gentlemen that were involved as two brothers from Serbia, and they created this game called Crowned in Steel, which looks like what a good Conan action game might be like a that kind of vibe. So I also demoed this game. I played about half of it. It takes about an hour to play through the whole thing. I think I played it for about 26 minutes, and I recorded it and posted it on YouTube so you guys can check it out. I suck at it because I just suck at it. But this is how the game should be played. So let's take a look at this. It's like 40 seconds of Crowned in Steel.
Ooh, hey, decapitation. Medieval Rambo.
And it's currently on Steam. You can wishlist it now to check it out. So it's called Crowned in Steel. I demoed it. Play the demo yourself. I think, well, I don't know if there's a demo up on Steam, but you can certainly like check out the
Information.
check out the well, go ahead and wishlist it and check it out because it does look pretty promising. And one of the things that they really got into was the dismemberment system. And the combat system is very interesting because it's not like other combat systems. It's definitely like the direction that you press with the attack button shows the direction the attack you make is. So if you like tap, right and the attack button, he'll attack to the right. If you press left, and he'll attack to the left. Nice. And that will, and where the enemy's positioned is when you hit them is like what takes damage, and you can cut off arms and heads and torsos and all of that. So it looks really good, very interesting.
So it's kind of like what Metal Gear Rising to some degree.
Yeah, but the they mentioned that because when we talked about it on the show, that came up that it was like Metal Gear Rising. But he said that the difference is though in Metal Gear Rising, when you cut somebody up, their bodies fall and then they disappear. But with this one, they have the ragdoll physics, so that the limbs will lay there, and they might even include a mechanic to use a limb as a weapon. So
that would be great.
Fingers crossed for that, to take somebody's leg and beat somebody with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look up Motor Doom since he mentioned it. Motor Doom video game, okay, and see what that looks like. And he, so that's this. Let's just share this tab instead. And I will, there's Motor Doom. Go to this. So, all right. We're going to play some of this one. Let's see what this is.
Interesting. Motocross in hell. It is appropriately absurd. I dig it.
Oh, yeah.
This reminds me of games from the 90s.
Totally, dude.
Yeah, nice rousing music, doesn't take itself too seriously. Blowing shit up. X Games. Yeah. I mean, it's very
free.
Yeah, it's very implicit about what it is.
Yeah. I'll check out the demo of this. Thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah.
All right. The next one he mentioned is Ferocious. So take a look at that. Here we go. I'll put it in. All right. Ferocious video game on Steam. Share this tab instead. Ferocious is an immersive, action-packed, old-school first-person shooter shipwrecked on a mysterious island that's overrun by hostile mercenaries and fearsome predators, dinosaurs. Outlive both man and beast in a relentless battle for survival. So kind of like a Turok, huh? Maybe I never played Turok, so
it's been a long time, decade plus easily.
You have like a pet.
Yeah. This is very Turok-esque. Yeah, I believe so. It's nice.
Dude.
Yeah. This game right here is a great example on why AAA studios are suffering nowadays, because it doesn't take too much to actually be able to make a game that has great graphical fidelity and actual fun, rousing gameplay, and like actual reasons to play it. And so I would much rather spend my time with stuff like this, rewarding people that have unique and interesting perspectives on storytelling, just like giving you an opportunity to just have a good time with like weird random shit that somehow comes together to create its own new experience. Then
for real.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna look at. I recommend the Night Dive Turok remasters. Thanks, Gabriel, Phelan, Lucas. I'll look into it. I never played them, so could be good. I'm definitely gonna check these out, all of them. So last one, The Lacerator, is on Steam, and The Lacerator, according to Gabriel, Phelan, Lucas, is a survival horror game where you can get dismembered, which affects the gameplay. So I mean, that just sounds so over the top. Let's take a look at the demo for this one.
That's
or the
awesome.
video for this one.
Right.
Yeah. This game contains scenes.
Good. Right.
Introducing Max, the man who loves sex.
Well,
This
now.
is a classic survival horror game where losing your limbs changes the path. Will you get to the end in one piece?
Open this door.
Let's find out. Explore. Fight back. Manage your items. And the most important, beware of the Lacerator.
Interesting. Yeah.
Oh, that's my wish list.
Right.
as well. But
Yeah.
on the app.
Right.
Well, that was a thing. I so yeah, these look really.
Well, I mean, the one that was very close to Turok. I mean, all of them actually very close to Turok. This seems like, all of them actually somebody who seems like in the 90s, somebody who steeped in the 90s, contemporary times, making stuff in contemporary times. I think they're all pretty interesting and unique.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, let's see. I guess that's it. I mean, I think I should probably wrap it up here and figure out what's going on with my OBS. It's going to take me a little bit of time to go through, because I think that what happened is it updated and my plugins are all janky, and I think
everything
it's causing my audio
domino
and video
affected. Everything
stuff,
is
yeah, it's just taking
domino
more
affected.
time. Exactly. So I'm gonna have to I'm gonna cut it short a little bit so I can investigate this issue. But I just want to say thanks, guys, for coming on the stream and being so patient with me while I figured these things out. I will definitely check out your recommendations, and I hope that you will check out mine. I think you should check out Crown of Steel and the It's Based Game Jam. Again, they're going to be announcing the theme. I believe it's February 5th, if I remember correctly, or January 5th, not February 5th. February 5th is when Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 comes out. So we got lots to look forward to. I think
you
that's
are
good news.
available
So,
this afternoon, looking to watch something Godzilla based, looking to watch something Godzilla based, I will be a part of technically also be a guest, but I'm
more
also
there
be a guest,
for moral support and also
more there
for moral
capabilities.
support and
So
production.
that'll be fun. That will
capabilities.
be starting at I believe 5 p.m.
That'll be fun.
Eastern,
That will be
2
starting
p.m.
at I believe
Pacific,
5 p.m.
and
Eastern,
we'll
2 p.m.
probably go
Pacific.
roughly 90
And,
minutes or so.
we'll probably go
one of the
roughly
mods
90
for
minutes or so.
Hypnotic's channel, Scooby Pup.
One of the
she's
mods
decided that she
for
wants to
Hypnotic's
take
channel,
her first
Scooby
foray
Pup.
into
She's decided
actually
she wants
doing
to take her
some
first
live
foray
streams. She got
into
herself a StreamYard account.
actually doing
the past
some live streaming. She got herself a StreamYard account.
She
Asked me if I'd be willing to help her, and
week,
so I was
and,
like, "Yeah,
she
most definitely."
asked me if I'd be
thinking
willing
about
to help
doing
her,
this
and
for
so I
people
was
for
like, "Yeah, most definitely."
before I
I've
even
been
started the
thinking about doing
Discord
this for
server.
people
So
before I even started the
should be a fun,
Discord server.
promising
So
venture, and hopefully
should be a
everybody,
fun, promising
if you got free time,
venture,
definitely stop on
and
by.
I hope you'll enjoy it. I think it's going to be a pretty great show, quite honestly.
All right. Yeah, I hope you guys go check it out if you have the time, or if you're maybe you're driving and you just want to listen to something in the background. So, well, thank you for joining me on the show, John. Really appreciate your input as always, and I want to thank you guys especially for watching. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave me a comment, let me know what you think about everything we talked about on the show today, and please, please, please share this video.
Pasta.
With the glass ceiling broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people, and maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe say we don't want you around if you're going to be a cunt.
Yeah.
And hateful. And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse. Because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker. And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt. And you breathe that in, and you can constantly taste the salt.